fun. The big kudos has to go out to, Johnny from Carmel and Pedro from Medifarm.
Yes.
Two of my favorites. And actually Sean from Cosmic Charlie's and Charlie even. So we were in the park for their 1 year or 1 year or 2 year, I can't remember. Sorry, guys. I smoke. But we were in the park and we just started, the three of us just started kind of chatting about, the community in cannabis and the events and the fact that they're very expensive for, small brands.
Sean is such a good guy, such a considerate guy. Such a nice.
Has one of the best smiles that I've ever seen.
Sweetheart,
lights up the absolute whole entire building that he's in with his smile.
Didn't lose his inner child or something. Didn't lose it. Still onto that sweetness.
I know. Yay.
Yeah, he leads with his heart. It feels.
Yeah, exactly. And so the three of us were just chatting, and I kind of looked at both of them, and I was like, "What? Why don't we just throw our own event? Yeah. And why don't we just do it in the park?" We were standing in Trinity Bellwood, so we're like, why don't we do this? So, obviously those are two massive powerhouse brands. Yeah. And they're, Muskoka, we're definitely we're there. Yeah. We've come a long way, and 1,000%. And it was just, how do we get folks to come to something that's just focused on cannabis?
Yeah.
And how do we get people out in a space that's inviting, a park, right? Old school. Where did a lot of us start smoking? Was the park back of a high school.
It felt familiar.
Yeah, it was
familiar.
And also it's the summertime. Let's be out, let's get the vitamin D. There was all of these little components. And so we came together, and Final Bell joined us for the first one as well. Choi, another fantastic human. And then we threw the first one. And from that stemmed, John looking at me and going hey, E, why don't we just see if we can throw these every single week for the entire summer. It was that ad hoc.
Yes.
And I know that it's harder for other brands. That was a lot to commit every single week to hosting this. The reality is
then they rotated.
But then and that was it. And I also wanted to show consumers, but also bud tenders and owners and managers of stores that we can all coexist as brands in the same space and support and uplift each other. It doesn't matter that yes, you're my competitor. We're competing in the store together, but we can all still hold space. And because again, the whole point is moving this plant forward.
Yes.
Right?
And it doesn't make any sense to go the competitive route now. That's it. That's a lose game for almost everyone.
You only have each other. It's not like Belvedere and Captain Morgan's competing for ad space on the bus. It's very different. The atmosphere is different. We need to have each other's backs.
Yep. I also just don't want to see brands disappear. That's the other thing too, right?
It's tough.
And so you want to be able to create a space where a very small brand could show up, or a very established brand. But what we did do is we did err on the side of the brands that aren't generally represented at a lot of these events.
Yes. Because it's so out of access.
It's just, you look at, your budgets, and you have to just sort of say, what's going to be the best, use of this money. And I think until we have, that's really hard. I mean, I understand it, and yes, the value is there, and
respect.
Respect always to them, but it's just, can we make things that don't cost anything? The amount of money, we didn't charge. That was the other thing. No LP paid to be a part of this event. It was just a welcome, and the only thing that I asked was that they bring a park snack.
Oh, because you're so cool, and
that's it. You just want a snack. You're gonna be in my head. You might as well smoke and snack. Right?
I love to hear that. That's how it worked on the back end with the attitude. Because what I saw when I got there is an actual very on point brand represented pop up educational process for every product. I felt closer to every brand when I was actually there in my true element. You guys didn't just toss yes, there was bottles of water and chips, but it was
pizza.
No, I'm saying you didn't just stop there as have a couple light snacks. there was fucking catering at one.
The original one. Again, shout out to Troy.
Okay.
Super fresh.
And
you had those
Those were
chicken
fucking
skewers.
good. Those chicken skewers.
Everybody go to Super Fresh.
Everyone go to Super Fresh. And so that was amazing. So the congregation around the snack table there, it was like the best birthday party ever.
And everyone also seemed to get the vibe, like the brands that were representing there. Yeah. It's like we talked, that the type of education that was offered there was like, let's get to know each other, and then let me tell you why I love this.
The people were
like, that was
actually
the type of
stoners.
education, and it was like, oh man, I didn't, because it's tough sometimes at events where you're like hello, and then you're like, here, let me tell you about this.
Yes.
And that's because that's what needs to happen. You have a brand message. We've been brand ambassadors before.
Yeah.
Like that, your message needs to get across. You're here for a reason.
I've brought this up to companies who do have like big activations, and I was like, honestly, like you got to keep that corporate pitchy shit the fuck over at like juice. Like, you know, tell your promo models who promote your juice to get all corporate and brand mission pitchy, but like for weed people, I know this as a performer, they see right through you. Like stoners, they're just like, you better talk to me on some flavor. Like, you better fucking talk to me on some cool shit.
Like, talk to me as like
Talk
a human
to me like
being.
a human.
Like
And also don't judge me based on how much or little of this thing I use, right? Because that's the other thing is like cannabis can be intimidating just because it's a plant you don't know. But then it can be further complicated by egos and this sort of sense of like, well, you know, you don't do this, or you don't dab, or not just use dab. That was the first thing that came into my head. But just it was an intimidation factor, right? Where if somebody, I've had friends say like, well, I only do edibles. What do you mean you only do edibles? There's no only. That's still, you're doing edibles.
You do edibles.
Like you don't have to, because you don't smoke doesn't make you less or more or whatever. Yeah. Again, the thing that should be on all of our minds, I would hope, is the fact that this plant has so many benefits that we haven't even touched on because we couldn't have, because it was illegal and, you know, the funding didn't get put into the studies that were needed.
It didn't benefit anyone in power enough to reveal that information.
Or it even did at some points, and they were too afraid of it, so they kept it under wraps, right? And so
the racist campaign had spread too far enough. They couldn't risk their reputation.
Pull it back, right? They couldn't go back on all of these hundreds of thousands of dollars that they spent fighting this crazy thing that, like, as far as I'm concerned, just makes me eat my entire kitchen. And if that's crazy, I'm here for it. But really, like, again, it's just you want cannabis to be as inclusive as possible, because no one person gets to dictate to anybody how cool or uncool, how this or not this they are based on how they choose to use. If you woke up and decided to put this plant in your body, that should be a win for all of us.
Lit.
Really though, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a win.
It's not a pill.
It's not a pill.
I guess I've never come across
Disciplined stoners. What's your discipline? You a stoner? That's cool. So are we.
I'm high a lot. It's weird to finally say that with pride. I'm high a lot. Being high has helped me with my anxiety. It's helped my social skills.
Love and light. Welcome to Disciplined Stoners Podcast with your host 11.
And my name is Winnie.
And we are the gateway drug to mindfulness.